4 a.m. and I'm on Twitter when all of a sudden I see this. And I'm like, no way, dude. No way. This is not real. Get out of here. Oh my god, it made the news. So, this is on 8th of March taking place on International Women's Day when Vaush, who is a communist YouTuber, decided to pick a fight with JK Rowling. Now, what started the fight is that JK Rowling pointed out how a Labour MP who is cherishing and praising women cannot define what a woman is. And it is very progressive to be unable to define what a woman is. I know this sounds ridiculous, but I guess for my European listeners, I have to provide a little bit of context on why this can't be done. Because you get cancelled if you give the definition of a woman. You see, there are two ways of thinking. There is the conservative school of thought, the old ways, the bigoted ways, the one that China, the Middle East, and Eastern Europe are still stuck with. And that is the idea that woman is a social construct which has roots in observable reality. And the definition of a woman is that of adult human female. It's in the dictionary. It's a very offensive definition if you use it in the West. There have been people who got in trouble for having t-shirts with this definition. It's very problematic, very dangerous for the fabric of Western society. It endangers their democracy. But here in the bigoted worldview, in Eastern Europe and in China and in the Middle East, this definition is rooted in objective reality, like the same way age is rooted in observable reality. So, for example, an elderly person. Like, what exactly is an elderly person? Can you give it an accurate definition? How many years does a person need to be in order to be considered old? Like 45, 50, 65? What about like 49? Like 49 and 10 months? Like, which exactly is the day when a person stops being young and becomes old, right? You can't actually define it. You can't put like an accurate definition on it. But it has to be rooted in some objective fact in order to be called old. It's the same thing with tall. Like, how tall does a person need to be in order to be considered tall? Is it 7 feet, 8 feet? Like, what about like 6 feet and a half, 6 feet and 9 inches? Like where exactly do you draw the line between short and tall? You can't really, but at the same time, you're not going to look at a person that's 5 foot and call them tall, right? So it's the same with the adult human female. Like, again, like, what is female? It's like, what if she is born without the uterus? What if she's born without a reproductive organ? What if she's got like XXY chromosome, right? Just because you can't have the accurate definition and it's not mathematical doesn't mean that the concept here in bigoted land isn't rooted in some form of reality. And this is what JK Rowling is arguing for, right? Like, you're not even able to define what a woman is. Meanwhile, in the progressive land, in the United Kingdom, in the United States, in civilized societies, the concept of woman is rooted in the idea of gender. So gender is kind of like a societal expectation in the same way that being a police officer is an expectation, or being a fireman is an expectation. It's kind of like a job that every person should be able to fit into if they choose so. So if you want to be a woman, you should be able to, just like switching from a profession to another. If you want to be a man, you should be able to. In fact, you can choose to be neither and be like they, them. And preventing a person from filling the role that they want is a violation of their civil rights. And JK Rowling was accused of doing transgenocide, that's the accusation, because she denies the possibility of a person who's a man to become a woman, right? So because of that, she's, I guess, like Hitler. And I think the person was a lawyer from the ACLU who said that. But like, anyway, think about it. Okay, I got a better. Sorry, like, I'm not a progressive, okay? Like, I'm bigoted, I'm reactionary. So I'm really struggling to be able to explain what university teaches you in 4 years of study. Like, people pay money in order to get access to this wisdom, but you get it for free because you come to my channel. Think of it like fashion. right? So you get to choose the type of clothes that other people recognize you by. So, for example, if you dress punk, you want other people to recognize you as a fan of the music punk. If you put a suit, you want other people to recognize you as being professional. If you wear casual clothes, you want other people to recognize that you're being relaxed, right? So it's kind of like gender in this situation. It's kind of like putting on different clothes on how other people should identify you. And if someone tells you you're not allowed to wear specific clothes, then it's a violation of your human rights because you're not allowed to have freedom of expression. Is this good? Like, I hope I did a good job. I hope I did the straw man or anything, because it's very complicated. Like, again, people go to university for 4 years in order to learn this, and you're expected to know, because otherwise you can get banned from Twitter. Like, it's horrible if you don't know this knowledge. You cannot function in a first world civilized society unless you know these things. But anyway, this got into Newsweek, and it's probably going to get into other publications by the time you're seeing this video. And as you can see, Vaush responded to JK Rowling by saying all JK Rowling had to do was shut the fuck up, as she could have been almost uncritically beloved for like a century. Women be quieter and start apologizing challenge. So he's getting ratioed for this. Apparently this is on 8th of March as well, like on International Women's Day. Like, the optics is really bad. 4 years ago, if you were to tell a woman to shut the fuck up on the internet because they are a woman, like you would attack her due to her identity like this, you would have been canceled. Like, there is absolutely no way that you would have anyone wanting to associate with you if you did something like this when Hillary Clinton was running for president, right? Like, this would have been viewed as misogynistic, that you are enforcing the heterosexual, cisgender, normative, patriarchal behavior, and more buzzwords to follow, especially if you did it against a high-profile target. But fortunately, we moved away from that dark age, and we are now in a more progressive and enlightened part where you can say things like this to a woman, apparently, if she has the wrong opinions, okay? You can tell her to shut the fuck up, like Vaush did. Something that I would never do. Like, I wouldn't tell a woman to shut the fuck... Jesus. But to which JK Rowling surprisingly actually responds and says, what you and your ilk fail to appreciate is how tediously familiar I find your tactics. I had a violent ex-husband who used to tell me life would be great if only I'd comply, but you're making the same mistake he did. Women like me can't be bullied out of resistance. Now, I thought the interaction would end here, but apparently it keeps going. Complaining about how victimized you are when you are a billionaire being mocked for opposing civil rights is the height of crybullying. So this is a little bit difficult to unpack. I mean, I guess like being a billionaire makes it more difficult to complain about certain things. Like, if you're a billionaire and you complain about the fact that the gas prices are going up, I'm going to laugh at you. If you're a billionaire and you complain that people are sending you mean words on Twitter, like, okay, LOL. I mean, you got money to solve that problem, right? Like, you can buy a psychologist or whatever. You're rich. But to see a millionaire, which Vaush is, attacking someone else for being richer than him is very interesting, because that would mean that I'm not a millionaire. So if Vaush ever complains about something, he is a millionaire, so I could just dismiss his complaint. I would be like, go cry in your bags of money. What are you doing? But the thing that I find astonishing here is that while I mentioned before that, yes, like having money makes you escape certain problems, domestic abuse isn't one of them. Like, you can be the richest person on the planet, the most wealthy person in human history, and you can still be affected by domestic abuse. Like, this is not something that money can make just disappear, right? And when she was getting abused, if I'm not mistaken, she wasn't even rich. Like, she hasn't finished writing Harry Potter. So, again, it's very interesting. Like, on Women's Day, if you're a progressive individual, if you're a high-mark progressive individual, you can actually insult other women who have been victims of domestic abuse and call them crybullies. It's, I gotta say, like, this new era of enlightenment is astonishing me still. And then he goes and says, Little Joanne, you don't get to play the victim card when you're an advocate for taking away women's rights. Trans women are raped and killed in men's facilities. So when he says facilities, I think he means prisons. Now what's interesting is that men are being also killed and raped in men's prisons. But like, for some reason, that's fine. I mean, we're not going to bring it up. Like, he is not for like, all right, let's look at what the solution is to fix this problem. Because it is a problem, right? Like, no one should be raped or killed in a prison, period. But no, like, the solution is to get the men who identify as women and I guess put them in the women's prison. So if you have like a person that is a dishonest individual, right? Like a complete pervert. And they do the necessary thing to transition, like on paper, right? Like they get the proper paperwork to change their number from the letter from M to F. And then they start like stalking women and becoming a pervert. I guess the solution is to put them in a women prison. That's going to teach them, right? And what do you do with the people who don't identify as men or women, like they, them? In what facility do you put them? Like, do you create a third facility for non-binary people? We need to answer these difficult questions, right? Going forward. I mean, I am curious because, again, like in Europe, I was too poor to go to one of these very prestigious universities where you get to dump hundreds of thousands of dollars in order to study and enrich yourself for years. Like university professors will slave for years in order to try to educate you and put this knowledge into you. And I just didn't have the material wealth to be able to get an education at Oxford or at Harvard. Alright, so I'm a little bit uneducated here in Eastern Europe, but hopefully someone will take the time to educate me. I'm a vessel willing to be filled. I want to know how to think correctly so I can be on the right side of history, unlike JK Rowling, I guess. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.